Yes. The harsh reality of good software? Yes. Yes. Yes.
If I have to sum up my coding skills after 15 years of software development, I would probably go with something like
I was watching it literally on the Prime React Reddit page.
average on a good day.
By the way,
This might sound harsh, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of devs feel the same.
Dang it, I couldn't press it. I now recognize this guy's voice. We've watched one of his other things before. He's really good. I'm subscribing. I enjoyed the things he has said before. So let's listen to this.
If I have to sum up my coding skills after 15 years of software development, I would probably go with something like average on a good day. This might sound harsh, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of devs feel the same regardless of the years of experience. In the world of software, feeling like an imposter is normal. So, weirdly enough, if you are pleased with the results of your current work, you are most likely wrong. Let me explain.
I think there's a lot of axes here that are very interesting. I do want to let him. We're gonna let him explain. Okay, we're gonna let him explain. But I do want to I'm gonna give you a fresh hot take based off that last one, which is I don't think things have to be average. I don't think they have to be average. I think you can really enjoy what you do and lean in and try to get good. The thing is that there's this weird thing that happens whenever you're writing software, which is the first time you write software, you're really, really slow. And it's hard because you're having to Google everything. And then you get faster and you get faster and you get faster at doing it the more you do it, right? And then this other thing happens. Sorry, alerts are on. Shut up! Then this other thing happens, which is your enjoyment of this activity looks something more like this, where once you start learning it, your enjoyment goes up. And then you've done it long enough, and it's like your enjoyment goes down. At least this is how I view software. And so one thing that I've really found that I like is that, one, having like a go-to language that you use. I know this is the hard part. You should have many go-to languages, by the way. You should really have many. You want like go-to languages. You want like 2 or 3 of them. Okay, this is my personal way to software happiness. Okay, personal opinion on software happiness. You have 2 or 3 languages, and you have pretty much the same thing in all things. And then when you build software, you can build it efficiently and in different ways each time. Like right now, I feel really, really happy with where I'm going with this whole Vim. What do we call it? This Vim platform for developing games. My Vim Go real-time game engine is really, really exciting to be developing right now on stream, and I've really genuinely enjoyed it. Okay? Is it useful? Is it awesome? Are people going to like it? Probably not. Do I understand all the pieces individually? Generally, I do. But I'm kind of exploring how I can be really efficient with Lua, and then I'm using it as a mechanism to make Go one of my go-to languages at being fast. So it's like I got all the Go goodness. I have Lua as my base that I'm really good at, Vim as my base that I'm really good at, and TCP protocols that I'm really good at. Bad things, Go. So I'm using a bunch of fun parts and a bunch of bad parts to where I don't ever kind of intersect on this one on accident. Because this is where things get really hard. You know, like when you're year 3 writing basic React apps and CRUD apps, it's like sadness is right here. So like how do you write more decorative and cool things? Like how do you explore deeper and harder problems? A lot of it I have to go get, on my own, but I kind of have like a framework for how I approach a problem. I typically don't like to approach a new problem with a new language because I like one part because then I'm right here. I'll be right here. I'm just Googling everything, trying to understand. And then I feel like I'm really low on the enjoyment. Difficulty's really, really, difficulty's way up here, right? Because difficulty is like the inverse of productivity. And so it's like, I like one of these to be true. Some sort of new problem, new aspect, new challenge paired with something I'm good at. And then I can really try, then I'm just learning one thing, right? And I can move fast while moving slow. It feels good. I don't know. Me personally, so I think that you have to be average all the time. I think you can solve and have a really good time if you can try to figure out how to do something like that. That's just me personal kind of thing.
Writing good software is actually really hard, but before going into the details, let's acknowledge the harsh reality of building software products, the only absolute truth we all end up accepting sooner or later. When it comes to software,
nobody does care. Real talk, no one cares about how hard you worked on your feature. Oh, you stayed up 6 nights in a row and you developed that feature and then the public goes and uses it And if it breaks at all, you're a piece of shit. Oh, it doesn't matter that you just completely slaved away to make something nice. It breaks once and people hate you. It's so absurd, but that's reality. And I'm not saying it's good. That's just how things work.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In other words, nobody besides your team really cares about your clean code, your domain-driven design, or the layers of abstraction you preemptively add in your code base. I am not saying
Preemptive added. Let's go. Awesome. Awesome. Let's go. That was awesome. Let's go. W take.
this is right or fair. I am just stating a fact. Outside the dev team, people are way more pragmatic. Product cares about the customer, sales cares about releasing new features, management wants you working faster, better, and preferably cheaper, and QA simply wants you dead. Nobody knows what HR really cares about, but it's probably safe to assume it's not your code. With this in mind, knowing you are fighting an already lost battle, let's see why good software still matters and how to enforce it in a world filled with deadlines, conflicting priorities, remote work, and affordable streaming services.
So far, we're starting pretty based. It is also hilarious that HR was the only one of that group that also later on in their acting career has become super omega canceled. HR is literally the devil in this case, both in the movie and then later on in real life. Like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good that somehow they nailed the usual suspects so well with HR right there.
There is a big distinction between working software and good software. On the surface, it seems like good software makes developers happy, while working software makes everybody else happy. Here's the kicker though. Bad software that works will eventually stop working. There is a mismatch in priorities. As long as the software works, nobody outside the dev team will prioritize fixing it.
I hate that reality. I hate... The thing that I hate more than anything else is the good enough approach. The good enough approach, I hate it so much because for 20 to 30 to 40% of the time, it's the right decision, but it's made every time. And you just get this backlog of stupid things that all they had to do was be fixed and take a little bit of time to make it a little bit better. And it would just make life so much nicer. But it always is, well, it works. We got to move on. Let's go. And like I said, that's right 20 to 40% of the time. But there's another 60% of the time that it just Fs you and Fs you every single time.
It's human nature to focus on immediate gains, take the profits, and then kick the can down the road. However, in the long run, software must be well written so that it can evolve seamlessly and meet the ongoing needs of your organization. So,
I don't know about that last part. It doesn't necessarily have to be well written. I've come across some pretty ugly code in the last few years. I'm just going to throw that out, okay? I've seen some pretty ugly-ass code that works well, okay? And people like it, and the person who works on it can continue to work on it. And so I'm just like, hey, you got to keep doing what you're going to keep doing, okay, buddy? Keep going, you know? Just saying. Doesn't have to be
the
perfect.
bad news is that even though nobody else cares about it, writing good software is still your main responsibility. On the upside, writing good software is really easy, at least on paper. On one hand, your code has to be clean, concise.
I don't like the word clean. We should just quit using that word because it's too overloaded. I like the term concise. Concise and properly tested. Properly. We talked about it yesterday, so we won't do it today, but properly, okay? I hate the idea of clean code. I also hate the idea of even readable code. I think readable code is a myth, okay? Readable code or clean code is a myth. And I do mean that. You don't believe me? Oh, that's funny. Okay. Oh, okay. Hey, you know what? Fair. So let's just open up the React project at a specific commit, and let's. How about we grab out? Let's grab out the reconciler for. Should we do old JS or new JS? Which one do you think would be better to use? How about let's just look at React Portal? No, this one's not. That one's not big enough. How about some old fiber new? Okay, after a while you start working through this thing and you start thinking, man, this is such, like, how long does this function need to be? Damn, that function is like how long? It's a 111 that's 100 lines of code? Man, this doesn't feel good, right? This doesn't feel good at all, man. This is not good at all. Like, this is going to be hard. And then you're going to start, then the better part is when you start walking through this code and really starting to understand it. And then you start realizing how many layers of abstraction exist here. But here's the deal. Can we all take 1 second? You guys are all saying, well, React's not good code. I'm going to hit you with the inverse uno. People who wrote it think it's good code. People who wrote it use it and like it. They've put it out there and they've worked hard and long on it to be the way they want it to be. So guess what? Some people think that's some nice, clean, readable code. Some people think that that is the worst code they've ever seen. Readable code doesn't exist. Readable code is the time of day, the mood you're in, the familiarity you are with the subject, and that's that. I mean, there is such things as shitty code. Shitty code does exist. But most of the things you call like clean code or pretty code or whatever doesn't exist. I'm sorry to tell you this. It doesn't exist. There is shitty code, though. There is objectively shitty code. There is objectively shitty code. But that's, I find, more of a rarity than anything else.
And well thought out so that you and your team can easily maintain and extend it in the future.
There is only shitty code. That's my hot take. This is not a hot take. This what everyone should accept. Everyone should just accept this as normal take. There's just degrees of shitty code. And I'll tell you this much. The code you wrote 6 months ago, somehow you find it to be completely shitty, and when you wrote it, it was amazing. People, QED. That's called QED. Okay? I proved it. Literally mathematical proofed the 6-month theorem. Okay? All code is shitty.
Future. On the other hand, it needs to be secure and efficient so that your product doesn't require an entire power plant and a VIP AWS account just to run in production. There are enough objective metrics to immediately evaluate your code when it comes to performance. If Bezos calls personally to thank you for your contribution to his most recent Nautic acquisition, you are probably doing something wrong. Creepy. Clean. Well.
Is that how you laugh richly? Is that why I'm not rich? Does the laugh come when you're rich, or do you laugh like that and then you become rich? What is it? How do you laugh in billions? Is that... I got to figure that out. We're going to figure that out.
Thought code is much harder to assess though. After all, there is a reason you have 1000-page books on the simple concept of writing code. Despite being a complex, difficult topic, there are a few basic principles you can follow to ensure that the code you are writing
I really like this first principle. This might be the best principle ever. Fight abstractions.
is on the right path. There is a fine line between writing good software and writing overcomplicated, useless code. Experienced developers will tell you that you should always assume unexpected changes when writing code. Well,
the problem is a lot of experienced developers will also abstract to be ready for unexpected changes, such that their stuff is so ready to be malleable and movable and all the good things. And then what ends up happening? The unexpected happens, and every abstraction you've ever written was actually incorrect. And you have to rewrite your layers of abstraction into a new layers of abstraction, because this time you got it. You got the perfect one. You actually have the perfect one this time. You know what? Last time it wasn't perfect, but this is the perfect one. I find that sometimes experience makes you a worse programmer than a better programmer.
This is kind of dumb. If I'm expecting unexpected changes, those changes are actually expected, right? Of course, this is an oversimplification. The idea is that products are in constant change and your code has to easily adapt to new requirements. Abstraction is the main tool you'll use to make your code more flexible, but this can easily become a slippery slope. Planning too much for what might come will lead to premature optimizations, which, as we all know, are the root of all evil. David Wheeler sums this up pretty well. All problems in computer science can be solved by another level of indirection, except for the problem of too many layers of indirection. The problem of over-abstraction can be easily solved.
David Wheeler, we're tweeting that. That's a great one. That's a quote of the day right there. That, my friends, is a quote of the day. Science. I know I spelled indirection wrong. Oh, I can't FE. Great. Now, how many things? All problems in computer science can be solved by another level of indirection. And post. And too many problems of erections.
Except for the problem of too many layers of indirection. The problem of over-abstraction can be easily solved with something devs rarely excel at: talking with other people. Software development should not happen in a vacuum. You should talk with domain experts to deeply understand the business logic and ask questions as often as possible, preferably before you make any software design decisions.
I have a small rule of thumb here, which is first build the atomic pieces of whatever you need. Part 2, make a couple things with those very atomic pieces. It can be messy, it can be ugly, it can be whatever. Think Berkeley sockets, right? Berkeley sockets are like atomic pieces. You know, listen, accept, bind, right? Like they're just very, very simple primitives to work with. Once you know your pieces and how you put them together, slowly after several times you've built something, then abstract over these tiniest amount, right? Berkeley sockets are like primitives is how I kind of look at them. You can't really, it's much harder to get less abstract than Berkeley sockets. You're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel, right? It's not like new TCP server. You're really stepping it down. You're down into constructing the server yourself versus new TCP server. And I feel like once you've done that a few times, you can see the path for a new TCP server.
With a good understanding of the requirements, the next thing you should focus on is the form of your code. Uncle Bob's Clean Code has some great tips and tricks to make your code more readable and easily maintainable. If you are not a fan of reading static code analyzers like SonarQube,
he lost me. Okay, hey, I like Uncle Bob, okay? I think that it's good to have those challenging thoughts, but you have to overcome them, okay? I mean that. I don't think small focused functions is good. I think this is generally a bad idea. I think generally you find yourself sag when you get into a code base that has a bunch of 4 to 6 line functions as Uncle Bob shoots for, generally. I think it hurts. But consistent coding styles, I think is fine. Readable, not clever. Again, that's totally domain specific. Comment and document, I'm very wary of comments. Generally, I'm very wary of comments. Just because comments just tend to go out of date, and eventually you get to these weird ones that are like, we use 7 instead of 2 because of this. And you're just like, this 7 and 2 don't exist within this document. What have I done? Test is fine. Consistency is fine. Use prettier. Right? 1 is good. Use meaningful names like you should. Cross out 2 and 5. Yeah, I mean, 5 is tricky. 5, when you repeat yourself enough, you should really think of that there's an abstraction being declared. You're discovering an abstraction. You need to know what the abstraction is. But what is it? Right? What is the abstraction you're seeing? What have you missed, obviously? And so, like, there does come a point when I've repeated, like, the 6th. I know 5 is a trap, though, 100%. That's the problem, is it takes a wise person to let 5 exist, right? It's hard. I don't understand, too. What does it cause? The problem is when you have a code base full of small functions, it becomes exceedingly hard to find anything. It requires a lot. It requires to actually figure out what a function does. It requires so much hopping around. So I'm always very careful about breaking things up too much. You don't want code that's hard to follow. I have a friend, and he said something that kind of really blew my mind, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong. It's different. I didn't like he made me unfactor something, and I didn't like it. But he says, optimize for reading code on Stash or on GitHub, which does make you rethink about how you write code. You won't pull out as many functions, and you'll think about, okay, really what he's saying is that the context should be all within eyeshot of what you're looking at. It's eyeshot development, right? You should be able to look at something and understand what the thing does, right? You don't have to learn new abstractions. I'm not saying it's great. It's just a very interesting take that I've been thinking a lot about.
if you are not a fan of reading, static code analyzers like SonarQube will enforce most of these patterns in a CI/CD process.
Sure.
One big mistake we often make when writing new software is that we take the opportunity of new projects to follow the most recent dev trends and test new technology stacks. There is a time and a place to acquire new skills. Most of the time, however, this is not during the development of software meant for production. The best tool for the job is the tool you know best. And if you want to fight me on this, please take it to the WordPress devs. They still run like half of all known websites after all. The final piece of advice.
We've talked a lot about the right tool for the job on this channel. And like I said, pretty much everyone thinks when people say the right tool for the job, what they mean is the tool they're most familiar with. That did not break me at all. That literally confirmed what I've been saying repetitively, which is people don't have any sort of concept of what the right tool is for the job. They have what I am most familiar with to get the thing done. That is why there is an Excel roller coaster. Okay? This is why this exists.
Is most likely the one toughest to accept. When in doubt, trust your old self and avoid refactoring code just for the sake of refactoring. Going back to the beginning of this video, nobody is happy with the code they wrote 6 months ago. I would argue that one of the best skills experienced developers have is the ability to jump into a code base, fight the urge to rewrite everything, and perform the necessary updates in a simpler manner.
That is a good skill to have, by the way. Define Excel roller coaster? What do you mean define Excel roller coaster? What? I did GI. That was wrong. You can't go to last insert. That's not how you get to the URL. Excel roller coaster. Here is an Excel. Flip, you're going to have to take out the music likely. There you go. Here is a roller coaster in Excel. It's literally a roller coaster in Excel. So when I say the right tool for the job, sometimes someone is so good at something, the right tool kind of gets misrepresented in their head. Well, wait, I thought it was an analogy. No, I'm literally saying someone will write a roller coaster in Excel if you ask them what's the right tool for the job. Okay, this literally happens though. It's impressive. But when you get too good with a specific tool, all tools will lead to Rome, okay? That's what I meant by that comment, is people are fundamentally bad at judging what the right tool is for the job, and so am I, okay? I'm bad at it too.
The bottom line is that, sadly, knowing all this theory will not make you a better developer. Good software is the result of previous poor design decisions, thousands of lines of spaghetti code, technical debt, and a lot of other lessons learned from past projects. You are not failing, you just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And if you are happy with the code you are writing today, don't get your hopes up. It'll still suck when you'll have to debug it 6 months from now. If you enjoyed it,
Pre-watched? Did I just pre-watch that? Did we just pre-watch the 6 months from now? No one's accusing me of pre-watching it? You know why? Because I lived it. Okay, I lived that one. The PowerPoint coding was scarier.
This video, you should watch one of these ones next. Until next time, thank you for watching.
I really like Awesome Software. I'm sure his name must be Awesome Coding. There we go. I like Awesome Coding. I like him a lot. I think he makes some really good videos. You gotta go subscribe to this guy. I'll link it in chat for sure. Go subscribe to this guy. Really great videos. Really great videos. It's it's the reality of what we do. Okay. If you come into this hoping that it's glamorous and it's good and it's what you see on Twitter, you will be disappointed. Go into this thinking that you're about to solve the problem where somebody is giving you a 1.4 gigabyte tarball instead of the 14 megabyte tarball that it should be, because we haven't built the process to actually give you the right thing. And now all of your stuff is blowing up and is taking entirely too long because you have the good enough value to get the thing off the ground, and that's what's happening, okay? That's how it works, okay? You literally just realize like, oh, this is just programming. Programming is you falling on the sword of somebody else's shortcut. And Twitter, very specific example. Yeah, that it's literally happening to me right now. That's why it's so specific, is because that is my current, like, one of the things I am monitoring is the size of an effing tarball. Okay. It's still like literally the tarball should be no bigger than maybe 300K, but it's down to 100 megabytes. So like that's a W. That's a huge W. It's not 1.4 gigs anymore with 500 megabytes of JSON localization in it. So like that's a huge win. I think we can all agree that when push comes to shove, we don't need that much localization. Yeah, I would agree. It turns out we don't need that. It's for testing and stuff like that. It was for testing. We don't even use any of it. We don't use any of the code. Turns out you don't need the tarball node modules directory. Okay? You don't need to because you only use a little bit of it, it turns out. I'm at the point where I like the code I wrote 6 months ago. Now, instead of writing better Elixir, I'm trying to learn deeper beam magics to do more interesting things than I did before, and also how to optimize certain things beyond the standard lib structures and functions. This is a good place to be. This is that whole like learn one thing and learn it super, super well. The thing you don't obviously want to do is end here. Right? You don't want to end here, but you can also end in a really nice place where you're actually just constantly comfortable and you're able to solve real problems and you're solving interesting problems. Like it is definitely a hard balance because you will eventually become the Excel roller coaster guy. Just got to be careful, that one thing. Oh no, I'm tired of jumping around. I did 2 years of Rust. I really started to like it. I started actually kind of getting good at Rust, and now I've jumped over to Go. I feel like I'm actually already better at Go than Rust, and I'm going to keep playing with that one. I've enjoyed it, and I think I'm just going to stay focused on there and Vim, and I'm just going to make a bunch of really, really, really funny and stupid live video games in Vim and Go. I like that, and just get good at that, and enjoy it. Literally making a Vim roller coaster next. Like literally, I'm making a Vim roller coaster, and I'm going to enjoy it. And sometimes you got to make a Vim roller coaster. Sometimes you just accept the fact you're writing a Vim roller coaster. Vim, Go, Temple, HTMX, yeah, all the good stuff. Really, all the good stuff. Bubble Tea for SSH or for TUI applications. There's some good stuff out there. The name. Enjoy what you got to do. You know, at the end of the day, just enjoy what you're doing. If you can find a way to not look at a problem as inconvenient, but as an opportunity to learn and get better, your life will significantly be better, despite not actually like being better in any objective way. It will be the same thing. You'll just be so much more happy. So do that. Enjoy what you do.